Okay, this is a little impromptu rant because I just felt compelled to talk about this right now, and I need to run a couple errands and I haven't eaten all day, but I want to get in practice of coming on here and just recording things and saying things as I feel into it. So, yeah, I was just thinking the biggest blessings I have received was in response to me letting go of something, being willing to let go of something. Of course, we're going to unpack this. And what I mean to let go is not necessarily losing something. It might be just like letting go of a mindset or letting go of something or a preconceived notion or plan to what I thought was right for me. And one of those was letting go, resigning from that six-figure job. But this has happened to me in many big, key, pivotal points in my life. I got exactly what I want when I resigned from my six-figure job. And maybe I'll make another video about that because it's not necessarily how you would think what would happen, but of course, I'm going to show the journey because this is fresh. I'm not talking about something that happened like a year ago. This is fresh. I'm experiencing the effects and the change of my day to day because it hasn't even been a month. It's been like a few weeks. I'm just experiencing the effects day to day. It's fresh. Things are changing. I'll just update here and there as time goes on. Like, I'll just jump into a story right now. And this was the first moment where I realized that I had the power to change my reality. And I might tear up. I'm the only person that I know does this, but when I'm speaking the truth or speaking about something very passionate that comes from my spirit, I tear up. And I'm not like feeling emotional, trying to cry. It's just a reaction. I don't know. It's happened to me my whole life. And I don't think there's any way I can just edit this out of these videos and keep restarting because I don't know. But of course, then now y'all will know anytime I do tear up, then it's like, these are some bars right here. But whatever. Story time. It was 2017. I was at my job as a recruiter, fully remote, going to school. I was in master's or graduate school at that time. And I got this bullshit fully remote job that I found from some random website for remote jobs. And I think I was getting paid like $12 an hour or something. I must have been around 26. That was the era when I was starting to learn about manifestation, and I had just watched the Law of Attraction movie on Netflix and explaining that. So I think I just randomly met someone and they was like, oh, you should watch this. But I was already into spirituality and stuff like that, watching a few people, but I wasn't really in it. And this law of attraction thing was new to me. Like the overall arching concept wasn't new to me, but the law of attraction and that specific phrase was new to me. So I watched that and it put some pieces together for me. I was like, okay. I tried to do the visualization aspect of the law of attraction. And I'm not sure if that was the main point in that or like one of the other ones. I want to say it said something about that being a little bit advanced. I don't know. But I decided to do the visualization one for a new car that I wanted because I was just driving this old hand-me-down car. It was a like 2001 Highlander, but I wanted a car. So I was like, oh, let me use this new law of attraction that I learned and try to manifest a car because I'm a car girl. I love like sports cars and like nice cars, stuff like that. I was still driving this hand-me-down car. I really didn't have money like that to actually get the car that I wanted, let alone just like a sports car in general. So I was at this job making $12 an hour. But meanwhile, I'm like, let me use visualization, try the attraction technique. So I was literally visualizing the car that I wanted, parked in my driveway, how I feel, attaching that emotional response, attaching that emotional memory that you create to the situation, doing all of that. I did that for 2 weeks. So meanwhile, this job was literally the worst job I had. Not because of the work necessarily, although it didn't align with like my degree or anything. Like I was in accounting. I did accounting before and I was going to graduate school for accounting. And I took it because they were like, oh, once you graduate, like we'll move you to the accounting department or whatever. It was sketch because there were things going on that didn't line up with this job. But I think it was just like one person running it. but pretending it was like a larger company. And the person was nasty. Like, this lady was not a good person. And we would have these like weekly meetings, and she would talk shit about one of the managers to the manager's face. When other people are being treated unfairly, I don't stick around. I'm not going to stick around to support that or attach myself to that situation. And like, I did a little bit after that when you find out what happened, but at the end of the day, like, I just quit, and I just did not like working there. And it's not like I can just quit immediately after someone says that. You still have to have a job. Or at least back then I wasn't in a position to like totally quit, but I peeped that. Obviously, that was obviously like a shocking pivotal moment where I'm like, this place ain't shit. And there were like other things leading up to that, but that was like the main thing. Like, I already knew the woman was not a good person just by how the workload was going and how she would be like forcing us to do certain things. And yeah, honestly, like treating certain people differently. I never got that treatment until later. But yeah, so that happened. And I was just like, you know what? I don't want to be here anymore. That is disgusting behavior. I'm only making $11 to $12 an hour. I'm still going to school. I don't want to be here anymore. I'm just going to quit. So I was trying to find a way to quit after that. And I think I had only been working there for maybe September, October, November. Only 2 or 3 months. I've only been working there for 2 or 3 months at the time. Even though I was manifesting this car and stuff, I'm just like, I'm going to quit because this is not worth it, especially for the $11 an hour, whatever I was getting. This is just not worth it. So I was like, let me just quit, focus on school, which was going pretty well for me anyways. But I was just like, I don't need to be here. I'm better than this. And this is not what I wanted to experience in my life. So I developed a plan to quit. I didn't want to say the reason was because like all the drama that was happening, obviously. So yeah, I just resigned and I just said, oh, I got another job offer. Because what I wanted to do is I wanted to quit so that there will be no argument about it. Because I didn't want them to be like, oh no, don't quit, or like, why are you quitting? I wanted it to be like a foolproof reason to why I'm out of here. So I said I got another job offer. And then this nasty owner lady came back to me and she was like, oh, let's get on a call. And then she was like, oh, why are you quitting? I told her, yeah, I got another job offer. They're paying me $25 an hour and it's in my field. It's in accounting. So of course, why wouldn't I take that? I was trying to make it foolproof. But then she came back and she was like, oh, if I match that pay, can you still stay? And I was like, meanwhile, me inside was like, I don't have anything lined up. So that would be awesome if I could do remote work and get like over double a raise, $25 an hour. But on the phone, I played it cool. I was like, oh, you know what? Like, I'll think about it because the other opportunity was in accounting and like, I'd rather probably do that. But this is remote. So like, I'll have to think about it. And then obviously I followed back and I accepted that. That was a story of how I wanted more for myself in a sense. And in wanting more for myself, I was willing to give up something that I was doing. I was willing to give up this position that I was in with no plan just because I knew I was worth more. And in doing that, in resolutely sticking to what I knew I was worth, I got what I wanted, at least in that moment. Because like I said, I had nothing else lined up. I went from $11 or $12 an hour to $25 an hour just by being willing to let go of something. Also, number two, that's the way that I got my car. And meanwhile, I told you guys I had not worked at this place for like more than 3 months before I was willing to quit. As soon as I got that raise, I think I had only gotten like one check just to make sure it was real. One check, I got $25 an hour. 2 weeks later, I bought that car. And it was the same scene that I was visualizing when I parked my car. It was parked in my driveway, and I realized that was the same scene that I was visualizing. It was the same color I was visualizing too. Certain features of the inside of the car. Like, I didn't know I was going to get this car. It was a Subaru WRX. I wasn't looking for that. I was actually kind of looking for a Mustang, but I ended up quickly abandoning that because I was only at the dealership for 5 minutes. Really weren't interested in talking to me, I think. So I was just like, okay, whatever. But yeah, this Subaru WRX was not on my radar at all. But I just fell upon it, loved it, saw it one day at the dealership. 2 days later, I came back and I bought it. And then a week later, I realized that was the same scene that I was manifesting with the same emotions, same color car, some of the small details on the inside. And I was like, wow. Because, like, manifestation is not always a magical thing that happens. I went from $11 an hour, definitely not enough to buy a new car. And I paid like 26,000 for this car. That's how much the loan was. I paid 26,000 for it, and I put, I don't know, 2 or 4,000 down. I'm not sure. $11 an hour is definitely not enough to buy a $30,000 car after everything. But I still was trying to manifest what I wanted in my life. I went from that to now being able to afford this car that I wanted just by manifestation and just by using an excuses to let go of something that I knew wasn't for me in order to bring into my life something that was better for me. And I learned that term from This Is Maria actually earlier this year. And I was like, oh, so that is what I've been doing basically. And it could be like fasting too. I was a Catholic formerly, like fasting, Lent. You're giving up something in order to either get to a more spiritual place or just to gain something. And it doesn't always have to be tangible. In many instances, it's not. But that's what I was doing. Once you finally stand up for yourself, that's when you get to be in the timeline that you're supposed to be in. Once you finally stand up for yourself, you no longer block your blessings. And I know y'all can relate to this. If you're too stubborn about something, you will block your blessings. We have to learn what and be aware of what is no longer serving us. And in doing so, in using something like an excuses and trying to let go of something to get something, and don't force this. I'm not saying that, let's say, what's a good example? I'm not saying that you should like sell your car in order to meet the love of your life or something like that. If you don't need to let go of something, you probably shouldn't. What I'm saying is you can't use this as a this equals that. It needs to be something that you need to let go of in your life. Like maybe a bad habit or just things that are no longer serving you. So it would be best to do an inventory of what is going on in your life and realize and be aware of what is no longer serving you. Because a lot of times we're just dealing with stuff, right? Like we're dealing with our family that's talking to us in a negative way and never supportive, or we're dealing with stuff at work that stresses us out, or we're dealing with a health issue that we don't want to go to the doctor to, but we probably should, but it's going to cost so much. And so that's why you're not going. Like we're always like putting up and dealing with stuff in our lives, but it has to be to a certain extent. Because if you really want to transform and change your life, you've got to do something different, of course. And what is that? Is letting go of the things that are not serving you in a positive way. So finding what that is, and at the same time, finding what you would like in your life. And it won't always be something that you want. It may be you get something, you receive something in your life that you're supposed to have that you didn't know that you wanted. Like when I'm manifesting this car, right? I don't know how it's going to happen. I was just really just in the moment of how I felt having it already. I don't know how it's going to happen though. I can't afford it. But lo and behold, like the car didn't just appear on my driveway. I didn't just win the car. Someone didn't just give it to me. Like some magical moment. But it really wasn't. It's magical to me, but really when you break it down, it's just I received the tools that I needed to get what I wanted to get when I didn't have those tools before. And that's what I manifested. So once you identify what's no longer serving you, you need to come up with a plan and then act on it as soon as possible. Like just acting on something like super brash and quickly may not be the best option. It depends on what this thing is that's no longer serving you and how long you've been dealing with it, of course. But it's always best to make a plan and assess what that plan looks like, but then act on it. Because if no action is taken, you're just blocking your blessings at this point. And trust me, I'm so stubborn with things sometimes, but especially in this story, like when I found out like the real colors of this nasty lady, that was like the chair, that was like the last straw that made everything else I was dealing with in the job not worth it to stay there. I'm dealing with all of this for such a little amount of money, like it's not even worth it. So, yes, unfortunately, I stayed at that job because I got something else that I wanted. Eventually, I left, but what was I going to say that? Oh, yeah, you need to act on this thing. Like, I know life is life, and sometimes we have to deal with things, but it would be best to think outside the box and think about what your ideal resolution would be for something. Because once you can focus on that, then I guarantee you things will start coming into your life, or ideas will start popping into your head on how you can get there and achieve that. If you don't, you're just blocking your blessings, and you could just be taking the long way around to your ideal life or your ideal timeline. And the thing that's for you will eventually come to you, but why make it harder on yourself? Like, why take the long way around? I guess to learn more lessons. But if a blessing is around the corner and all you have to do is just trust and take that leap of faith, I've learned more often that I should be doing that than being stubborn. I can be a pretty stubborn person. It just comes from how I grew up. Like, we're always taught to just deal with things because that's how life is. Not a good lesson. We need to do better at teaching the younger generation that they do have a say in their lives. And obviously, you see these Gen Zs, they're already on that wavelength. But yeah, this is just another story of how when things get down to the wire about what you're willing to accept in your life, especially when it comes down to that pressure moment, there's a lot of emotions, there's a lot of pressure on a decision to be made. There's a lot of pressure on what you want your life to look like. Like, you can either stay here and be miserable, or you can either let go of the thing that is causing you distress and search for a better life. Or you could just let go of the thing that will be your better life. Like, you're just not dealing with it anymore. Like, that in and of itself is a better life. Like I said, when it comes to jobs, it's a little bit tricky because we do need money to survive. But yeah, I've just realized when it comes to that, when it's feeling like that pivotal moment of standing up for yourself, then do it. Because it's always the best decision that you can make. And we've had many other moments where I did not listen to myself and I didn't stand up for myself. And I would just be dealing with things. Oh my gosh. Because I don't want to give up on something. But when it's time to give up, you'll know. Like, things just get harder. Things don't go, like, random negative things are happening in your life related to that situation. Extra pressure, rug pull moments, unpleasant situations. And for me, yeah, I noticed that happening. I noticed things escalating unpleasantly. That's the point where you need to make a decision and you need to give something up in order to be on the correct path that you're supposed to be on. And more recently, I realized I want to shorten that time between noticing something isn't right for me and that escalation of unpleasant events leading to a rug pull moment. You shouldn't want to get to the pivotal rug pull moment to where your life looks like a disaster, and that's when you finally change. You should have intuition and awareness from here, and maybe a little bit down is fine, just to verify what you're actually feeling or sensing. But yeah, I definitely feel like you should be able to make a decision or make a plan, notice something that needs to be changed in your life, and act on it. Stand up for yourself before that escalation occurs, because that is just so unpleasant. Like, why did you keep putting yourself through increasingly unpleasant moments? I think most of the times people just don't realize it. Like, all these things are happening and you don't know why, is because you're not supposed to be there. And because your destiny or your guides are trying to push you on the right path, but you're thinking too much about it. But you're stubborn and you're not listening to your intuition. You're not listening to the signs. And that's why sometimes it feels like nothing in your life is going right. So yeah, I feel like majority of the time people just do not realize that. So I hope this helps So yeah, this excuses tool or concept be one of the faster ways to pull something into your life and to get something that you want. It is like a fast track method of letting something go to receive something. Because what does that do? And now when you free your energy up, or when you free your space up, then of course you have more space to accept something just as big. I feel like it does work incrementally. It's like you can't just say, oh, I give up watching TV at night and then expect to have a multi-million-dollar idea for your business. It has to be like one and one, because if what you're giving up is super small in comparison to what your goal wants to be, it's just not going to correlate. It's not going to fit, right? Like with my whole job thing, I'm giving up a certain salary, and I wasn't even really expecting anything, but I got something a little bit more than what I wanted. I really got exactly what I was manifesting. And it's not just the salary, it's not just that $11 an hour that I was giving up. It was also the addition of standing up for myself. I was telling myself that I realized what I was worth. I was giving up just being a slave in someone else's machine, in a sense. Yes, I was still working there, but you see what I'm talking about, right? I was giving up not having a voice. And by speaking up and trying to make a change in my life, that was what I needed at that point. And that validation for myself was what I needed, because I knew that I was worth more. What that looks like could be up to your life. But I would say, yeah, to start out, if you're going to use this giving up something to get something, I would try to make sure that they at least correlate. Like, you can't just give up something that you don't really care if it's in your life or not. It definitely has to be something that has a little bit more meaning in your life if you want to see amazing results. I've just noticed that I'm using this as to get things I want in my life, but I've never said, hey, I'm gonna give this up and get something, and I knew what I was doing. I'm just speaking on the experience and what I've done in the past and what I've noticed. Share your story with me on if you've used excuses or not, or your moments where you finally let something go in your life and what you received after that. Because I just haven't heard much on it besides from what This Is Maria had to say about just the definition of and the concept of it. So I would love to hear you guys' stories. I like sharing my own story, and I have a bunch more like this. So be sure to subscribe and follow for the journey and everything else. So I'm finally gonna run my errands. And like I said, I never know how to end these things, so I'm just gonna say bye.